It's gorgeous out. Let's pop some ducks.
This is the Upduck Podcast, a blend of upland and waterfowl hunting. Tune in as your hosts, Tyler Beaton, Jeff Ludicky, Matt Jeske, chat about training dogs and share their bird hunting stories, tactics, and strategies.
Nonsense. We're good at that. Evening, gentlemen. What's happening tonight? And you can't say nonsense.
No nonsense.
No nonsense.
I learned something in my son's book tonight.
Do tell.
Did you know that a woodpecker's tongue actually wraps around its skull? Because it's so long?
That.
You did know that. Did you know this, Tyler?
No, of course not.
Crazy. I never knew
protects
that.
it from.
And their tongue's so long they can get in
Yeah.
there and get their bugs or whatever they're trying to eat. Wraps around the back of the skull.
Fun fact.
Or
Jeff.
you know, fun fact.
That is a great. That is a
way
great
to start it.
Wow. All right, I got a question for you two. Since daylight savings time hit 2 days ago here, how are things in your house with bedtimes and your kids?
Not
It
terrible. I
seems-
think I'm more affected than they are.
I was just gonna say the same thing. Somehow the Tommy's transitioned fine. We didn't do any weird staggered things, but I am slow at work. I'm dragging.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not getting up for hunting. Like, I don't like waking up in the dark unless it's to go out hunting.
That's fair. I'm also on the struggle bus with it is hit hard. So they're exceptionally tired, but holding it together. Because it's like their little bodies are out of rhythm though, too, right? You're like it's all weird. But I am also exceptionally tired. I'm back up to 3 cups of coffee a day now.
Back on the train.
Yeah, but hey, I got my tea though. So we're
All right.
There you go.
drinking tea. Anyway, enough small talk. Let's get our guests introduced today. I think we're all giddy to talk to one Eric Forrester from Ghost Point Wirehairs. He's also has a fabulous YouTube channel. I believe it's at Eric Forrester. So we have a whole bunch of different topics. I don't know where this is going to go. It depends on who takes control of the conversation here. Anyway, Eric, welcome to the Upduck Podcast.
Oh, thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We appreciate you having you on. I know we bumped it around a couple of times. You've got a busy schedule. You're doing dog stuff, traveling all over the place. So I think the first thing, right, guests always do when they come on here, just tell us where you're located, and we'll just start with some background information about, what you do. That should lead into the good topics.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I live in Indiana, and I'm a traveling bird hunter, upland bird hunter. Like you said, I breed dogs. I breed German Wirehaired Pointers. My brother and I have a kennel, and I run NASTRA shoot to retrieve field trials. So I'm into kind of a lot of dog stuff. I got lots of dogs here. I got dogs running around, cooking some puppies right now and running around to field trials and everything. So I'm kind of going all year round on the dog stuff anymore.
So, okay, I'm going to ask this question and then I'm going to swing back around. How many dogs do you currently own?
I have 8 dogs at the moment, and that does tend to fluctuate a lot because as a breeder, I'm always bringing in prospects or keeping puppies or all that kind of stuff. But right at the moment, I've got 8.
Okay.
All German Wirehairs?
Yes. Yeah, my brother's got another 10 at his place. So we kind of team up on the kennel thing and breeding and all that. So plenty of dogs running around, plenty of dog power.
That's perfect. That's what you need as a traveling hunter. So did you grow up with dogs? Did you grow up hunting?
Not really. I was kind of, as a kid, I did a little bit of dabbled in deer hunting a little bit, and stuff like that. Kind of got into sports, in my teens or whatever. And we kind of moved to town, stuff like that. So I was kind of a small town kid, and didn't really get into all this until my adult life. I mean, I really not seriously until I was in my 30s, honestly. My brother and I would go to like put and take hunts here. Here in Indiana, where everybody knows, the bird numbers have been dwindling for years and years here. We don't have a lot of birds, so we used to go to these put and take hunts. They'd put out some pheasants for us, and we'd take his labs out there and go have our little weekend hunt or whatever. And that was about the extent of it. But then one time we were sitting down eating lunch, getting ready to go out again on one of those hunts, and he's like, we got to get some pointers. And basically that little conversation right there basically changed the trajectory of my life. And that was like 14 years ago. And I don't golf anymore. I don't do all these other things I used to do. And now I'm like full-time dog guy running around with these bird dogs. So it definitely snowballed on me.
Now, you said there's not a lot of upland birds in Indiana. It's probably very similar to Wisconsin, right? Does the DNR there stock pheasants, or is it basically just the put and take, hunts at the clubs and things like that?
So we've got a few pheasants running around northern Indiana. As you get to the south, it transitions a little more into quail. Not a lot of birds, but there are some around. I mean, I've got some birds here on public land. I can go show you, 3 or 4 cubbies maybe. But they're very few. And so if you're going to do any serious hunting, or if you want to think about filling a bag, you're certainly going to travel for the most part if you live around me. So, but they do have those put and take hunts around the state, a few of those kinds of things. So there's a few out there, and there's, some opportunity, but therein lies, what I do on YouTube, which is the traveling part and heading out west and different places to hunt birds and to let's show what these dogs can do, because that's a big part of it for me is, being able to, show what we do here as breeders and the kind of instincts and natural abilities that we want to foster and that kind of thing. And so the videos are a good way for me to show people that. So that's why I enjoy it so much.
That's great.
It's awesome.
Now you mentioned you started with labs and then you decided to get a pointer. Now, was your first dog, your first pointer, I should say, was it a Wirehaired Pointer? Yeah. It was honest. I got to give credit to my brother on this one. He had kind of done some research beforehand, and we like the idea of a versatile dog. And I think he tells the story. He was watching one of those bird dog challenges that they used to show on TV. And there was just this one particular wire hair on there that just, like smoked a point or something and stood there looking beautiful and made an impression on him. And so that's kind of what sent us down the road of a wire hair. But yeah, we like the versatility and, the grit and determination of wire hairs and the desire of the breed and that sort of thing. So that's kind of what sent us down that road. And of course it changes and it ebbs and flows and, sometimes we'll be a little more upland focused, but we definitely like to, make sure we're breeding versatile dogs that are good to go out there and retrieve some ducks and do all those things that they're supposed to do. So there's a lot to consider, certainly when breeding a versatile dog.
Yeah, that's like we could probably do a whole episode on that. I would love it. We'll probably touch on some of that here tonight. Now, as a lab guy, I gotta ask, right? Like, what was there anything like on your put and take hunts where you're like, hey, I don't enjoy this part of the hunt and I want to go to a pointer, or was it just a curiosity thing that made you go, you know what, let's just go grab a pointer?
I was completely clueless. I had no preconceived ideas about it, and to be honest with you, I had never seen a real good pointing dog in action. I just never even seen it. So the idea was completely abstract to me at that point. So when we got these dogs and we started training and seeing, we kind of lucked out. We got some, good dogs to begin with, and we take them out to start training in the field, and they're doing this magical thing called pointing that's just instinctively in them, and it was just fascinating to me, and that's real. I just had no idea that existed, to be honest with you. So yeah, I was coming into it clueless, but then that's really what grabbed a hold of me too, was like, oh my God, there's this whole amazing world of these dogs that can do these cool things that I just never even knew about. So it definitely took hold of me for sure.
I'd say
That's
so
awesome.
with 8 of them.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Now, Now, how long did it take from that point to where you decided to start Ghost Point kennels? Like, how did that transition look like? And kind of tell us a little bit about that story.
Yeah, so it started with my first dog, Cece, and she's still with us. She's 13 and going on 14 now. But yeah, so I just had her for, gosh, 2, 3, 4 years probably, I guess, before I even thought about getting a puppy. So I was just concentrating on learning, right? I had a lot to learn. Concentrating on training her, and then, you know, things sort of progressed from there as far as, you know, like traveling on trips with her and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, before too long, you know, you start thinking, well, you know, it'd be nice to maybe have another dog that they could, you know, kind of split time with a little bit. Because when you take these trips and travel a lot, you know, you're hunting for days in a row, right? I mean, that can kind of get hard on the dogs and that sort of thing. So, you know, thought about getting a pup, and you know, thought about maybe having a litter and things like that. And then probably about year 5 or 6 is when I really started to take the plunge, and we really started to, you know, go out and look for some, you know, the best quality genetics that we could get a hold of, and looking at, you know, studying the lines and really diving into the breeding part, you know, with both feet. So yeah, it was just kind of your typical guy and his dog there for the first few years. But that just, you know, she just gave me the opportunity to learn all this. And so I learned a lot from her, and she taught me all kinds of stuff, and we learned together, you might say. So, as everybody does. I mean, if you don't have a mentor or something like that, that's, you know, you just kind of got to go out there and figure it out. And that's one nice thing about these days is, you know, that information is out there. You can kind of go teach yourself a little bit. So that's basically what we did.
Well, that's great. Now, how many years has Ghost Point been in business, would you say?
Let's see. So that would have been about 8 years ago or so, 7 or 8 years ago.
Okay.
And like I said, we've really wholeheartedly been the last 6 years or so. It's probably
nice. And you're doing that full time, aside from your traveling and doing hunt tests and things like that?
You know, still got a day job and all that. But yeah, it's taken up more and more of my time as it's gone along. And, you know, now, like I said, with, I'm doing field trials. So not only do a lot of traveling, during the hunting season, but, I go to NASTRA shoot to retrieve field trials. I'm traveling doing that, you know, in the off seasons. And so between that and, you know, like breeding puppies and whelping puppies and that sort of thing, it seems like there's something dog related on my calendar 12 months of the year now. So I can't get enough of it, to be honest with you. It's a lot of fun. It's, you know, I can't quit my day job because nobody gets rich in dogs, but it's a lot of fun, and I enjoy every bit of it.
That's amazing. I mean, I'm shocked that you still have a day job. It seemed like you were just constantly on the road hunting and training dogs and things like that. That's amazing. You must be a really busy man, though.
Well, I have my own business and I work for myself, so I get pretty good control over my own schedule, and so I allot a lot of time for those travels. So
your boss lets you get out every once in a while.
Yeah. Well, you know, I decided a few years back that I was going to have more time than money, so that's the part I'm rich in, is the time part.
That's awesome. That's so, like, right, with 8 dogs and training, like, what you're balancing like a job on top of that, right? And I know you get to make your own schedule and that, but also you are your own boss, and you do have demands, right? You got to run the business and keep that functioning to, you know, keep the lights on and pay all the bills. What does your schedule look like in the off season from a training standpoint, right? There's a field trial stuff you're traveling to, but you have to train for those. You got to get your dogs ready for those. What does your training schedule look like, and how do you balance that with everything else going on?
Yeah. So it kind of goes with, you know, I pretty much hunt all the way up until, you know, kind of February time frame. And then it's, honestly, I'm jumping right into the field trials. I just got back from a national trial in Florida last month in February. So, you know, part of it is with as much as I'm doing it now, the dogs are kind of in some sort of shape and condition all year long. There's very little off season. About the only time I try to really take time off for them is in the dead of summer when it's just really hot. But yeah, it is really just quite busy and all year long. So I'll be going in to this spring. There's a lot of stuff going on in our region here of NASTRA, lots of trials, and then that's when we have our regional championship, which is kind of a big deal. There's 5 national trials throughout the year that we go to. So it's kind of like I said, there's always something dog related on the schedule, and NASTRA has become a pretty big part of that. That's one of the main ways that, as breeders, we always want to have something on paper to show a dog's prowess. And NASTRA is kind of the way I chose to show that. It's an organization that was created by hunters, so it's not perfect. No system is, but it's a good little hunt simulation, and so I think it shows some of those traits that we're looking for in our dogs. So that's kind of how I've chose to display that. Other than the videos, I mean, that's how the videos really started. Was I just wanted to share what the dogs could do. And my brother and I talked about it a lot when we first started. It was, you say you're looking at pedigrees and saying, oh, this dog over here looks nice, or that dog's a champion or whatever. But you're always saying in the back of your head, I wish I could see it hunt. I wish I could see what this dog does in the field. And so that was kind of the impetus for the videos is, you don't have to kind of take my word for it that these dogs can hunt. You can just go watch them and see them do their thing, and birds all over the country. And so it's just kind of speaks for themselves. So that's as a breeder, that's really nice to have that. And, if somebody's like, hey, how does Riggs hunt? I can say, well, here's a video of him doing his thing. Go check him out and let me know if you're interested. So that helps a lot.
Right. It's great marketing. I mean, it really is, right? And you're doing something you love, and also helping Ghost Point Wirehairs continue to grow, and helping clients and potential clients, customers see your dogs. I mean, it's a win-win all the way around.
It is, and just on top of that, I get to enjoy it. I mean, it's fun to do the videos. It's fun to go to these places, and then it's even fun to share it with everybody because, I get lots of comments that are from people that say, hey, it's kind of like I'm right there with you, kind of a thing, and that's fun to share those experiences with other people too. So you're right. It's just kind of a win-win-win all the way around.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask about National Shoot to Retrieve, NASTRA, a little bit more, because obviously, right, I geek out about hunt test stuff. But I don't, Jeff. I interrupted you before.
No, that's exactly the direction I wanted to go.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about AKC stuff a lot. We've talked about NAVDA. We've talked about HRC, but we have yet to talk about NASTRA. And I'm just kind of curious how that compares to a lot of the other tests that are around the country.
Yeah. My brother and I, we did NAVDA when we first started. And he did some AKC hunt tests and that sort of stuff. And those are great organizations. And I think there's just no better organization than NAVDA as far as for bringing people in and helping them learn, how to work with their dogs and things like that. And I really value those experiences that I had through NAVDA. The thing that kind of led me to NASTRA was a little more that competitive side, and because it isn't a test where you're judged to a standard, it's competitive field trials. So there's at the end of the day there's a first, second, and third. So that competitiveness was something that I wanted to check out and explore, and it sort of feeds my own personal competitiveness in some ways, but also. This is a hunt simulation, so it's not hunting, of course, but it's like hunting, and over time, you'll find that the best dogs, will, the kind of the cream rises to the top sort of thing. So it's a good test for dogs, and it's one of NASTRA's mottos is extending the season, like the hunting season. But another motto they have is, breeding better bird dogs. And so that was a big part of why they created it, was to help identify good dogs. And then, there's a lot of there's several, different pointing breeds that are in NASTRA. It's not breed specific. It's just for pointing dogs. So, if you're looking for, a nice short hair, going and talking to a NASTRA guy is not a bad way to go, because they'll have contacts all over the country with short hair breeders or setters or pointers or whatever. But yeah, so that's a big part of it too, is bringing those dogs together, competing, and it's the proof is in the pudding. There's winners and losers, and that helps us identify some of those good dogs, and that's a big part of it for sure.
The actual hunting simulation, can you talk us through that a little bit? There's a dog training venue probably 20 minutes from where Jeff and I live, and I believe they host some AKC pointing dog events there, but I feel like they also might do some field trial stuff there as well. Just curious, what does it look like for you, right, in those hunting simulations with NASTRA? You paint that picture for us if you could.
Sure. Yeah. So in NASTRA, you'll be set up in a brace. So there'll be 2 dogs, and they'll each have their own handler. There are 2 judges that stay with each dog, and they will be on ATVs. Usually, some parts of the country they still use horses, but for the most part, it's ATVs nowadays. And you'll be in a field that's anywhere from 30 to 50 acres or so, and they will have a bird handler that will go and release 5 birds into the field. And basically, it's going to be a 30-minute brace, and essentially, you're going out trying to find as many birds as you can. And then the judges stay with the dogs, and they will be judging them on like 5 categories. One being the find, meaning the point, the retrieve, and then so you get a score for each find, each retrieve, and then at the end of the brace, the judge will give you a score for your ground coverage, your obedience, and if the dog had an opportunity to back or honor another dog, they'll get a score for that. So that's kind of the basics of it. So the idea is that we're trying to judge the whole dog and the whole part of hunting. It's everything through the retrieve. And we want dogs to have good manners, to honor another dog, to have good style, intensity, all those kinds of things. But it's also about finding birds, right? So it's kind of we try to balance those two, where the scores are based on how many birds you find, but also the quality of the work that you did finding those birds. So that's kind of how I think of it, is we're trying to balance both those things at the same time. So a couple of things on that. Love that, right? From a strategy standpoint, is it better to find more birds or less birds? Like, does finding more birds help you average your scores out a little bit more? Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I say you get a score for each find and each retrieve, that means each single one. So let's say, if somebody goes out and finds 4 of those 5 birds, and the other guy only finds 1, the guy with 4 is going to have 4 finds scores and 4 retrieve scores. So that can really add up. So it's in large part about finding the most birds. And then on top of that, you're judged for the quality of each of those pieces of work.
So, all right. So then, right, are they gonna clean the field then before the next 5 birds are dropped, or the next brace there might be extra birds out in the field?
There could be extra birds.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where kind of the a little bit of the luck of the hunt, or the fact that you just got to go hunt. And there's other little things like kind of the luck of the draw kind of thing, kind of there's lots of little things that go into it. But essentially, most of the time, the dogs find all 5 birds, and so it's usually a fairly clean field. But extra birds do happen for sure.
Okay. And then, are you handling a gun and shooting those birds?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. There's just the one handler. You handle your own dog, and you. These are walking trials, so you just walk to your dog. You flush the bird. Dog has to remain steady. the dog is allowed to break on the flush. That's one sort of important distinction from a lot of other field trials is, this is kind of a hunt simulation, that was the idea. So a lot of hunters will let their dogs break on the flush. So that's how we do it. And then dog goes out, gets that retrieve. And so it's, like I said, it's trying to encompass the whole of a hunt, all phases of a hunt.
So yeah, that was going to be my next question: is what type of steadiness is required of the dog? And you answered it is on the flush, which I think is.
We just talked about that, Tyler.
Yeah,
it's exactly that, letting your dog break on the flush, because with these running birds, you want that dog close to that bird when it hits the ground, right? And that's kind of the idea of letting them break on that flush. But I like that they allow that to happen, because you're right. That's what you're going to see out in the field.
And we talk about it too, because so like Matt and I run in lab hunting tests, right? I mean, we're lab guys, and so like we have like upland tests, and in those tests, right, our dogs are required to be steady to wing, shot, and fall. So a bird goes up, blow the whistle, dog sits, and then right, you send your dog when the bird hits the ground. But the practicality of that on wild birds is not always great, right? Because you're not stoning birds dead all the time. You want your dogs closer to the bird when it drops so they can get on it as fast as possible. And so this is the first, I've never really dove into NASTRA, and it's really interesting that they allow that. Or you said it was an organization created by hunters, and it sounds very much like that. Like that piece really sounds like it was created by hunters.
Yeah, a common thing you might hear in the bird dog world would be, you can have a trial dog or you can have a hunting dog, but you can't have both. And I'm here to tell you that you can certainly run NASTRA and hunt all over the country and be successful at both. But that's why it's like you said, this organization was designed by hunters to extend the season. And, so we tried to make it as close to a hunting simulator as we can without wild birds, right? And so there's always going to be little parts of that aren't perfect, but it's as close as we can get to a hunt situation, so that you can come out and play with your bird dog all year long. So
now with it being a field trial, I know some of the things that scare people away from field trials is kind of like the cutthroat type mentality of it. Now, do you find with NASTRA that there's a lot of that, or is everybody pretty accepting of others and pretty kind when it comes to these competitions?
Yeah, it is a competitive situation. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, it's we all do this for fun too. We're all out there, yucking and having a good time, giving each other a hard time about their handling skills and everything else. So we try to have a lot of fun. And we do have an amateur program. So as a new person, as if you got a young dog or whatever, just never run before, you can run as an amateur. And there's different formats and stuff I won't bore you with, but basically you can come in as an amateur and you'll be running another amateur, so that you're not out there running some pro that does it all the time and that sort of thing. So that makes it a little more fun as you're starting out. But yeah, it is competitive though. There's just no doubt about it. And to be honest, you do need a decent bird dog. But that's part of what we love about it, is that, that it is a competitive situation, and we do get to see those quality dogs do their thing. That's a big part of it for sure.
Yeah, that's great.
I've got a couple random questions because I only have HRC Upland to compare it to. So it's going to be pretty short answers, but how many competitors are at a field trial on a given day? Is it a single day event?
Your typical weekend trial, we call them, are 32 dogs in a field. Okay. And we'll often run, it'll often be what we call a double, which would be, we'll have, usually most facilities we run at will have two fields. So we can kind of run basically two trials simultaneously. You'll run in one field in the morning and the other field in the afternoon or something like that. But yeah, it's usually 32 dogs on a weekend trial. And then at our national trials, we have anywhere from 128 dogs to 196 at our Dog of the Year trial, our big one. So,
sure.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Did you say it was timed for those 2 dogs that are out in the field at one time? Like, and how long is that time limit to find those?
Yeah. The standard brace is 30 minutes.
Okay.
And then on any of our elimination trials, like for the finals, like in one of our big trials or our regional championships, the final brace is 1 hour.
Okay. The birds being planted in between each brace, are they planted in the same areas, or are they completely random per each brace in that 30 to 50 acre field?
It's meant to be completely random.
Okay.
You'll hear guys talk about, we like to keep birds, spaced out in, they say, quadrants of the field.
Sure.
But yeah, the idea is to have them completely randomly placed. Like I said, spread out evenly throughout the field, but you're not supposed to have any idea of where they are for sure.
Okay. And I think my last one to really wrap my mind around this compared to like an HRC lab test is, do you get to pick your running order, or is it based on your registration for the field trial? Like if you're running in the first brace or the last brace, because obviously that's going to make a difference on how many birds have been in the field. Birds are obviously being shot and dropped in the field. It makes a difference, where you run in that order. So do you pick that, or is it kind of set up by your organization when you sign up?
Right. Great question. So we have a computer program that does a random draw.
Okay.
What it does is it simulates an old fashioned poker chip draw that we used to do back in the day. But yeah, it's basically a program that we developed a few years back that just you put all the entrants in, you click draw the trial, and it does a simulated draw, and that's the running order for the day.
Okay. I guess I had one more. Are you personally running multiple dogs in a same field trial typically? Like, do you have to work in running another dog in a different brace in the same test, or are you usually running one dog in one, like in the morning and one in the afternoon, or are you able to double up somehow running multiple dogs?
I'm currently running 2 dogs most trials.
Okay.
There are some guys that run up to 3 dogs, but any more than that, and there's really not enough spacing through the day for guys to handle that many. So,
Okay.
yeah, most guys will run in between 1 and 3 dogs.
Okay. No, that makes sense. Yeah, a lot of similarities, but definitely different, with the HRC labs.
Right.
Yeah. How do you earn a field champion designation?
So when you earn a placement, being it first, second, or third, you get points. You get 3 for first, second is 2, and third is 1. And then if you accumulate 18 points, 9 of which being first place points, you are a NASTRA champion. And then there are amateur points. So like when you're starting out as an amateur, it gets a little complicated. I won't bore you with it, but mixed in with that trial will be amateurs that run, and they will get placements as well. And they will get amateur points. And that's the same format there, the same 18-point designation for an amateur championship. And as you go throughout your career, you can accumulate championships. You may hear about somebody being a 6-time champion or 8-time champion or whatever. And so that's where that comes from.
So what about your dogs now, Eric? What are your goals for your dogs when it comes to NASTRA, and what are you trying to achieve with them?
Well, it's so our Indiana season, our Indiana region season, is the cutoff is our regional here coming up in May, and that's when our season kind of starts over. And so each year we compete for the high point dogs in our region, and then also compete in that regional championship. So that's kind of one of my big focuses right now. I've got some dogs that are kind of competing for that high point. And so me and my buddies are ribbing each other all the time, talking about, who's going to win that one. But yeah, then the regional will be a big focus, getting the dogs ready for that one. But yeah, even after that and before that, and sprinkled in through the schedule are those national trials I talked about too. And I travel to those as well. So yeah, it's, there's a lot.
Sky's the limit, it sounds like, right?
Yeah, you can
take them as far as they can go.
You can be as into this as you want. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and you said you just basically hunt all the way until February, so you're pretty much getting ready to turn the switch now into NASTRA, right? I mean, that's kind of your next step here for the year.
Yeah, this time of year, I'm always thinking about, trialing and puppies is because it seems like, most of my females will come in here at some point early in the year, come in season. So, yeah, puppies and trialing are a big part of this time of year for sure.
How many litters are you doing a year?
We're going to have 3 litters this year.
Okay.
And that's about what we've been doing the last few years.
Okay. You got a pretty good waiting list for a dog too, if somebody was interested?
Yeah, right now we're taking deposits for 2027 for next year.
Okay.
We're pretty full this year. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's great.
Do you have a lot of repeat customers coming back for second puppies?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I think we're gonna have 2 or 3 people this year are repeat customers actually.
That's awesome.
Now, before we start, I want to talk about bird hunting out west because I know you do a lot of that, and I've been itching to learn more about it. But before we go down that road, I want to talk about wire hairs a little bit more since we haven't really talked too much about wire hair pointers. We've talked about wire hair Vizslas a lot in the last few months, but not wire hair pointers specifically. Obviously, you love the breed. I think they're incredible looking dogs, but that they got a lot of horsepower, right? Is what I've been told. So I kind of want to hear a little bit about them and how you can handle 8 of these dogs at once.
Well, I know 8 sounds really bad, but 2 of those are pretty retired, so it's only 6 really. No big deal. But yes, no, you heard right. Wire hairs are very well known for their drive, their grit, and their determination. They're a tough breed. They have a lot of desire. I think most people would say that's one of the first ways you would describe them is desire. Then that's one of the things I love about them. Their grit and their determination for game is really awesome, and it's a cool thing to watch. But yeah, then and to be honest, I kind of have a little bit more of an upland focus. So I don't do a lot of waterfowl hunting, but that's the thing that I rely on in a lot of ways is that drive, because nothing is going to take a dog into icy water like just flat out prey drive. And so that's something that we lean on quite a bit, and we have to make sure we maintain is that ultimate drive and desire for retrieving of game. So yeah, it's definitely a balancing act there a little bit, and you'll find some differences in a wire hair. And usually when you start talking about the wire hair breed, someone will ask about a Wirehaired or something like that, and there's definitely some similarities and some differences in those breeds a little bit. The Wirehairs are more through the German system, and they have their own testing and breeding system and that sort of thing. It's a little more regimented and strict about dogs that they breed, so it's a little different from wire hairs. But at the same time, almost all my dogs have Wirehairs in their pedigree somewhere, so it's kind of confusing. One of those things that kind of confuses people, but yeah, so yeah, they're great versatile dogs, good family members, and they definitely have that drive and that determination for game for sure.
Now, do you find that they can have an off switch in the house? Like you said, they are good family members. If somebody's listening that could be interested, have young kids, needs a dog that can kind of turn it off a little bit. Do you find that they can do that easily?
Absolutely. Yeah. For the most part, the only time I've had any issues with anybody having any behavioral issues, or like you said, not having the off switch or getting in trouble around the house is only if they're ignored. These dogs love to be with you. they love to be with their family. They want to be with their people. And honestly, if they're with their people, they can be lazy. I mean, they're just, they just lay around and sleep all day. But the surest way to have a behavior problem is to ignore them or leave them in a kennel or something like that. So without that, they're fantastic family members. And I'll say that one of the things I like about some of the dogs we're breeding right now is that off switch. They can really be just little tornadoes in the field and then be just quiet as a mouse, for when we're traveling or when we're at home or, around the yard. They don't chew up stuff. They're just easy to have around. And that's definitely a big part of it, because obviously all these dogs that we have are pets most of the time. So we've got to be able to live with them. We can't have little monsters running around constantly tearing everything up. So that's a big part of it too, is making sure that they're good, even-keeled personalities, and that they're good citizens too.
Yeah, that's good to hear. I was always kind of nervous about the breed because I've heard bad things, or not. I've heard that they can be a lot to handle, right? Not bad things, but they can be a lot to handle. Mm-hmm. Especially when we were comparing them to like a Wirehair Vizsla. I have a Vizsla right now, and we're looking at getting more of a versatile dog that I can take waterfowl hunting. Obviously, Wirehaired Pointers were on that list as well, but I was kind of leaning towards the Vizsla route because of what I had been hearing. But it sounds like that's not always necessarily the case, and that they can be good citizens and be good inside the house too. So,
absolutely, that's the best advice I can give anybody is to do your research on your breeders, and talk to them, and go out and find somebody that does what you like to do with your dog. But most of all, just find those good, responsible breeders that are breeding the whole package. It's something I talk about it constantly, that we can, because people ask about training and things like that, and I would love to tell you that I'm an amazing trainer, but it's really not it. The best thing I can do is pick the right two dogs to put together to breed. And the results we get from that are so much more important than any training I could ever instill in them later. Those things that are innate and in them naturally are so powerful, and it will trump all the other stuff. So that's a big deal, to pick the right breeder.
So, Eric, if you want to, you could maybe sell Jeff on getting onto your puppy list right now too. you might be having him reconsider here, right? And I let you answer that, but I wanted to pipe in and say, well, Jeff, maybe you just need to find a breeder like Eric, someone who could really help find the right dog.
There you go. I had the Wirehaired Vizsla circled, but maybe I'll have to think about some other breeds here. I don't know.
Don't tell any of our previous guests.
I do love the look of the Wirehaired Pointers, though. I think they're really good looking dogs. I love the beard. I love all of that. So, and I like the darker color. But we'll see. I'd have to convince my wife. That'd be a tough sell. She really loves that rusty red color of our dog.
Yeah, those are cool.
Yeah, they are. But there is. The Wirehairs, there's like a vibe to them though. They just have, like, you look at them, you're like, yep, that's a dog right there. They
kind of look like they look like a badass.
Yes,
is what they look like.
Exactly. They do. Every time I look on, I'm like, okay, yep. You know what? If I get in a fight, I want that dog on my side, right?
That's right.
That's it right there. All right. I have a training question, and then Jeff, you need to get this over to hunting out west, okay? We're never going to get there. All right, so I'll let you say.
Yeah, that's yeah. All right.
So we've talked a lot about training. Obviously, Matt and I had nerd out in the test world a little bit because we live there, and I think that's that's really fascinating for the way our brains work sometimes. Right. We've asked this to other folks who've owned pointers who have come on this podcast. Are you force fetching your dogs, or is it all just natural train retrieve, old conditioning, that sort of thing?
Yeah, if I'm not going to field trial a dog, I've never had a need to force fetch. All the dogs have been certainly natural enough to be a functional hunter. But if I'm going to field trial, they have to do it perfect every time, two hand, sharply, happily, quickly, snappily. So I always want to train that just to make sure they always maintain that, because even if they do it naturally as a puppy, they might go through a phase later where they decide they want to be a little stubborn about it or something. So I always do that force fetch just to make sure we keep them rock steady and really sharp.
Okay. Follow-up question to that is, are you doing that like as soon as they lose their baby teeth around 6 months of age, or do you wait until they get past like the 1 year mark, they have a season under your belt? These are just like things that I've heard out right on social media or out from in different pointing groups and such.
Yeah, I definitely prefer to take, like, say, a 9 or 10-month-old puppy and, you know, let them have a wild bird season. Let them get some wild birds under their belt, really imprint them with that wild bird experience. I don't want them to just have a bunch of pen raised birds or, you know, kind of canned hunt type stuff when they're young. I just want them to have that true experience. I like to do that and then kind of assess how they do in that wild bird season, see what kind of tools they have. I mean, it's a great way to just kind of see what kind of natural instincts and tools they have to work with, and then create kind of a training plan for them from that point. For instance, this year I had a young dog that just seemed to be picking everything up so well that I just pushed her on through. I mean, she was had hunted wild birds at 9 months old. I went ahead and force fetched her and woe broke her at 11 months, and even started field trialing her while I was still wild bird hunting her. So, you know, it can happen that quickly. Now that's more the exception than the rule, but yeah, so I take that wild bird experience as my little assessment of them and see, you know, just because every dog is different and you need to be able to adjust to each dog and give them what they need at the right time. So that's the perfect way to introduce them to it in my mind.
That's great. No, that's perfect. So when you go through the force fetch process, are you doing an ear pinch, or are you doing a toe hitch? Something else?
Yeah, it's sometimes there's a little bit of ear pinch in there, but it's usually transitioned to a collar pretty quickly.
Okay, got it.
And we transition to a collar as soon as possible.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Got it. All right. I'm done asking training questions for now. Jeff, get us to hunting out west here.
Yeah, definitely something I've been interested in. I know you do a lot of it, Eric. You know, I've primarily only hunted, you know, the farthest west I've went is Iowa, chasing wild birds, Iowa and western Minnesota. Done rough grouse hunting, a lot of pheasants, but haven't chased any of those other species out west. So I'm just really curious about that. You know, if there's somebody like me in the Midwest area, like how feasible is it to take my dog and go out west and expect to have some success, maybe doing like a DIY type hunt? So just kind of curious,
Absolutely.
Like where do you start, right?
Yeah. First off, you know, all this is totally doable. I knew absolutely nothing when I started doing this. I didn't have a mentor to help, you know, teach me or anything like that necessarily. So I have learned everything I know basically on my own and just going out there and doing it and doing my own research. So it's completely doable. Now it's, you know, one of those, you know, key to a life sometimes is, you know, managing your expectations. You know, you're not just going to go out there and start smacking limits, of course, but there's plenty of opportunity out west, whether that be something like going to a place like the Dakotas or Montana to hunt sharptails and huns, or maybe go, you know, down into bobwhite quail country. Places like Kansas are great for that. Lots of walk-in areas and public land hunting and stuff like that. And these days, with the amount of information out there, you know, if you're willing to do some legwork, some planning, some research, you know, tools like Onyx, you know, are really extremely valuable. With all that, if you're willing to, you know, invest the time and energy into all that, you can be pretty successful pretty quickly usually. Especially if you can add a little bit of good dog power to that, it's totally doable, and very rewarding. I find that that's what gets me going. That's one I love, going to new places and going someplace I don't know anything about, or, you know, some beautiful place that I want to see. And that's been one of the sort of unexpected things that I've really enjoyed is seeing all these amazing places that you can hunt birds in. Because, you start with, like us guys from out east here, we start with maybe some quail or maybe going up and find some sharp tails in the prairies or whatever. But, if you really want an adventure, you can go all the way out west and find some chucker and, incredible landscapes and amazing pieces of public land. And, you can have whatever kind of adventure you want. It's an amazing thing we've got in this country with all this public land and all this access and opportunity that we have. And like I said, it's a lot of fun and it's very, very rewarding. But you do need to just know that you've got to put in some time, some research, but you'll be rewarded for it though, for sure.
Now, do you find like these Midwest dogs, Midwest upland dogs, this area of the country, do you find that they struggle a little bit when they first get out there? Or like, what are some of the biggest things that like the dog would have to overcome in order to be successful out there?
There can be struggles. There's no doubt that can be part of it. But you might be surprised at how quickly dogs can adapt and learn new environment, new habitats, and new things like that, new birds. I find it pretty amazing that I can take these puppies that never smelled this bird and never smelled that bird and never been to this place or that place, and they'll just go out there and they'll just do it. It's like, wow, okay, I guess they can do it. So you might be surprised at how well that dogs that have never been in that kind of environment can do. There are definitely challenges at the same time. One of the things I think about are just conditioning challenges or, some, like when I go chucker hunting or if you're out west, certain places, the terrain is very rough. So like it can shred dogs' feet if they're not well conditioned or they have, don't have good pads or whatever. So there's definitely challenges and there's things to think about and ways that you can prepare and help you get ready for that. But, with those things in mind, it certainly can be done. There's no doubt.
Now, do you find that the elevation affects the dogs a whole lot? I mean, I know with me, I'd probably be wheezing walking up some of the mountains trying to, in a high elevation, try to keep up with the dog. But do you find that affects them all that much, being from the Midwest and being at such a low elevation here?
I find it mostly affects me. The dogs are usually fine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm usually the only one that's really that huffing and puffing that much. So the dogs seem to be okay with it. And to be honest, even when I'm chucker hunting, it's not usually at too high of elevation. There aren't too many birds that you chase at like super high elevation. You may go up to like 5,000 or 6,000 feet or something like that, but it's not too bad. Like I say, I'm more worried about me passing out than the dogs.
That's fair. That'd be my biggest concern too, I think.
Eric, what you mentioned, right, having dog power is crucial though, and like how many dogs does someone need to go out there and be successful? Can they do it with one dog? Is that risky? Do they need 2, 3? Like what do you think helps aid someone heading out there?
You can do it with one dog. I traveled and hunted with my first dog CC for years. Now she was usually in pretty decent shape when we went out there. And so, again, your preparation will have a big effect on that. That's always the big joke, an opening day when everybody's running out there with their dogs, they just grabbed off the couch and, they go out there and it's hot and, they run for 30 minutes and they're toast. But so yeah, just, kind of prepare yourself, prepare your dog. And that will, just way increase your odds of success for sure. But I mean, as far as numbers go, it is nice having more dogs than one. If you do just have one dog, again, you'll need to manage their time in the field and just be mindful of that, especially if you're trying to do like a week or an extended trip. You're just going to need to manage their time, and maybe it's good to go with a couple buddies that have dogs too, so you can kind of spread the load a little bit around the dogs. And honestly, different terrain will be give different challenges for that kind of stuff. But on average, if you're prepared, one good dog's all you need.
I like this. I
You're
like what I'm hearing.
You're supposed to say you need at least 3 because we need to push Jeff toward getting a second dog here. All right. We're gonna keep working on Jeff here. Matt's on the verge. He knows he needs to start puppy shopping.
It's true.
Tell you what,
like
though, my wife sent me a reel the other day, and it said something about like life with our Vizsla before we got a second puppy, and it just showed the dog bored, sitting around whining, and then when they got the puppy, a whole different story. So she's starting to break down a little bit, I think.
That's good.
So
You're
we'll
wearing it
see.
down. You're wearing it down. You'll get an extra little life out of Josie when you get a second dog. Like it's speaking from experience. Yeah. Okay. All right. Sorry, Jeff.
Now, what about critters, right? There's a lot of different critters out there, and I'm speaking in generalities. Obviously, I'm saying out there. That could be any number of states, but
further west than Iowa.
Further west than Iowa and Minnesota. Yeah. There's a lot of different critters. You got your snakes, porcupines, things like that. Like, what kind of extra precautions are you taking with your dogs and yourself going out there hunting birds out west?
Yeah, well, being a wire hair guy, things like porcupines and stuff like that are definitely a concern because Lord knows these versatile dogs like to stick their nose into holes and check out critters and do all that kind of stuff. So it is a concern. Again, though, you'd be surprised sometimes how quickly dogs can figure stuff out. I've had, knock on wood, I've had very little issues with things like that. I mean, I've had some porcupine incidents. For the most part, all my dogs have been kind of a do it once and then leave them alone from there sort of thing. And I've definitely, pulled out some quills out in the field, but I have been pretty lucky with as far as that goes. Snakes are a big concern for most people, and rightfully so, because they're just they're scary, and they're one of those things that we're really concerned about our as far as for our dog's safety and that sort of thing. And encounters happen, but they're probably a lot more rare than you might think. But it's also something that you can sort of manage just from the timing of your hunts, things like that, watching weather and things like that. In certain parts of the country, you just wait till a certain time of year. We've had a frost and that, for good freezes and that sort of thing. Then those threats obviously go down. So there's little things that you can do to manage those risks. And in general, I'm probably just an optimist, and I'm always thinking everything's going to be fine. But it's not something I dwell on much at all. I have had dogs that were snake bit, but in all my preparations from like the hot seasons or whatever, the only time it happened was when I was in South Dakota in November, and there was an inch of snow on the ground in the morning. So it's like, how in the hell was I going to prepare for that? So just things happen, but it's not something I worry about too much. Some guys like to do like a snake avoidance training, and there's nothing wrong with that, especially if you're going to be hunting a lot in those places, maybe more in the Southwest and stuff, when snakes are more of an issue all year round. But I find most of the country, if you just don't go during the warm part of the season, you're fine. But yeah, there's all kinds of little things that can happen out there. And, and I always have my first aid kits and stuff with me, and, to take care of any of those things that we can predict as far as stuff that the dogs run into or injuries or, all that kind of stuff. But, like I said, I guess maybe I'm just an optimist, and I don't dwell on that stuff too much. I pretty much just go for it.
Yeah, no, I like that. But you got to be prepared, but don't let it consume you, right? The worry of what could happen, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, so my last question about this with this segment, and Tyler or Matt, if you guys have anything more to add, but if somebody were going to go out west further than Minnesota and Iowa again, to hunt, sharp tails or huns or bobwhite quail, something different than what we have here in the Midwest, like, what would you recommend they start with? If you had to pick one state, one species, what would be the easiest for somebody to get their feet wet?
Yeah, I think sharptails are a great one. And bob white quail are probably another one. Um, they're they're relatively easy access as far as land that's available and open for hunting. If you go into the Dakotas or Montana, there's lots of good country for sharptail hunting and lots of public access for it. Something that happens in Montana is they do the block management program, which is private lands that are open to hunting. Those provide a lot of good places to hunt Hungarian partridge and sharptails. But yeah, that's kind of a classic kind of first foray out west, I think, for people, and you get a pretty good success rate too. There's not a huge barrier there. There's not a huge learning curve. The dogs seem to pick it up pretty quick. It's relatively easy walking and hunting for the hunters. It's pretty open country. It's fun because no matter what kind of dogs you've got, it's fun to be able to watch them do their work, right? I mean, they're just right out in front of you. And if you've got pointers, they can be out hundreds of yards. You can still see them doing their thing. Or, if you've got flushers, they're right there working the cover next to you. You can watch them do their thing. So that's a lot of fun too. I really enjoy that part of it, that we get to enjoy watching the dogs do their thing. Cause so much of the upland hunting is, seeing the grass move in front of you or something, and you're watching that dog do its thing. But yeah, out there it's nice and open, and we get to watch the dogs do their thing. And but yeah, that other than that, I would say, yeah, bob white quail. Go to someplace like people in Kansas will hate me, but Kansas is a great state for that because of their good walk-in program. Lots of places to hunt. Again, it's all about, to me, it's all about how much, we'll call it work, you're willing to put in. Do some research, talk to some people, talk to state biologists or any good mentors or sources for information. Any of that stuff that you do will be rewarded. And then there's no substitute for kind of your in-person scouting and doing things like that. That's one thing I kind of harp on, that when people ask me about traveling is, I know you just drove 10 hours or 12 hours or something to get someplace, and we're all anxious to get out of the truck, but make sure you do that in-person scouting. Look for a good place to hunt and look for those good habitats that look like they might hold some birds before you jump out there. And so yeah, like I said, that's the nice thing about bird hunting is the more you invest in it, the more you're going to be rewarded, the more your efforts are rewarded. So it's good that way. So I say just go for it. That's what I tell everybody. I say, like, if it's a dream of yours, make a plan and go for it. It's you may not go out there and whack a full bag, the first day or anything, and manage those expectations, but enjoy the whole process. That's part of, it's not just about shooting that bird. It's about the discovery, the exploration, seeing your dogs do their thing in new and cool places. Enjoy the whole journey of it, because that's really the fun of it, is the whole journey. It's not just shooting that bird. So enjoy the process.
Yeah, that's great advice. That's a great way to look at it too. It just seems so intimidating, right? With how much country is out there, and where do you even start, and where do I go, and what are the rules? And there's just so much different than what we're used to here. But I like that mentality, is just curb your expectations or manage your expectations a little bit, enjoy the process, and just go for it, right? Like you said. So that's like
great. That old saying, like how do you eat an elephant kind of thing. It's just one bite at a time. So you just come up with a little plan and start doing your research and go for it and see what happens.
It's perfect. That's great. While we're talking about hunting out west, I have a couple of questions related to that, right? And I know we're probably even past an hour now, but the way that you film your hunts, Eric, right, solo is really impressive. I think, like, when I watch your intros, right, it just gives a feel for where you're at, right? And like when you're hunting out west, it's like, okay, this is the look and the feel. It just gives the video. It sort of sets the expectation. how many cameras are you taking out there, and how are you capturing that? Like, are you thinking about that when you first get out there, how you're going to capture sort of the essence of where we're actually hunting? Or is it, hey, you pull up and you're like, okay, I'm doing my scouting and this, I'm going to just, you could sort of have a routine to it now. How does that work?
Yeah, well, I do keep it pretty simple. I'm not a talented artist in any kind of way, and like cameras and filming and editing and all those kinds of things were completely new to me when I started this. So I try to keep it pretty simple. Almost all my action footage is on a GoPro that I've got on my hat. So that, the good part about that is that it's a very much a POV, you are there kind of experience, because it kind of captures all that action that happens. And then I'll kind of supplement that with just using my phone. The cameras on the phones nowadays are so good that we can capture some pretty good footage just with those. So that can help me maybe zoom in a little bit, or take in a landscape, or if I gotta, if I want to talk to the camera or something like that. But then the last 2-3 years or so, I did get a drone, so to get some nice aerial footage of these places, and kind of like you said, to give you a little more of a feel of the landscape, and so many of these places are just drop dead gorgeous. It's so fun to capture that and to share that in the video, and I think it really adds a lot. So yeah, like I said, I do try to keep it simple, but it's also I think my little niche, I guess, would be sort of that vicarious experience. That's what I'm hoping that you feel as a viewer, is that you're kind of right there with me, seeing everything happen, so that it's like you're right there, right in the middle of the action.
I think you do a great job of capturing that. I think the drone footage, like, right, the way you're capturing it, and then you might not like it feels like it's a part of you, right? Like, listening to you talk, you've mentioned a couple of times how you love the places you go to, how you get to explore these places, and they're just gorgeous, right? And you're giving us like this aerial that sort of sets that stage, and it's like we're taking it in through your eyes, and then we obviously go to the POV footage on the GoPro, and it continues on with that. So just kudos. I mean, I think it's great work. But that leads me to my next question, which is, when you are like putting together the actual films, do you think about the story arc of the films, that of the episodes you're putting out? It's sort of, hey, I'm dumping it onto an external hard drive, I'll figure it out later.
Yeah, so I may have somewhat of a plan, but I usually don't have too much of a plan. I usually like to just kind of see what happens.
Sure.
Like you say, the idea would be to try to put together something that tells a little bit of a story. And until I've seen it develop, or sometimes not until I get home and look at the footage, honestly, do I really understand what that story is going to be. Usually I'll have a feel for it as the trip is going along, or I might have had a really nice day, or just whatever the case may be. But I try not to have any preconceived ideas about what that will be, and really just let it take me wherever it takes me. I think about, there was a day last year where, I was really determined to go find some valley quail. I was out in Oregon, and I wanted to find valley quail and hunt valley quail for a day. And I picked a spot, and I thought, well, this would probably look right and all this stuff. And I get there, and we head out, and the next thing I know, my dog is pointing some Hungarian partridge. And about 8 coveys later, I had not seen a single valley quail, but I had a bag full of Hungarian partridge. So, that's kind of the way I like to let it happen. I just, go with the flow, see what happens, and then we'll kind of worry about the story after the fact and try to tell it the best I can then.
I love that. I think, it feels like your videos, they do have, you do a great job in post-production with putting it together, and it feeling like there's like a story behind it, which is great. I think it probably speaks to the adventures you're just having out there, right? Where it's the hunts are great, right? I mean, some are better than others. Obviously, it's hunting, but it all comes together really, really nicely.
Well, thanks. I want it to be a genuine experience, right? That's one of the things that, I had some decisions to make a couple years ago when we started talking about, I have some sponsors and things like that. And, anytime money gets involved, you don't want it to change what it is. And I've always stayed very firm on that this is about the experience first and the dogs and all these things that I value. And I'm not going to change any of that, for, sponsorships or whatever, any of those kinds of things. So I want it to stay that way. And because if it's not that, I won't enjoy it. And then I'm going to want to quit. So I want to keep it fun.
Yeah. I think you've got the right sponsors that understand your perspective too.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was in the conversation whenever I talk to someone and say, I'm not going to sit here and do commercials for you. If, and I only take sponsors that I used anyways. so yeah, that's definitely part of it.
Yep. All right. We're past the hour here, right? We have not done our Skyblast questions, but before we get there, Jeff, Matt, are any questions for Eric?
I say this can be in lieu of my Skyblast questions. Your hunting rig setup, couple minutes highlights. What truck do you have? How many dogs are you carrying? Obviously, you got to have water for your trips. Like, what high level do you have? We hunt out of our trucks quite often. Obviously, not to the extent you do, but can you give us a quick overview of what that looks like?
Sure. It's evolved over the years. I used to pull a camper around and do all those kinds of things, but I quickly learned going far out west, especially chucker hunting, things like that, got a little trickier. When you're traveling with the trailer, it can get a little trickier. Anyway, so I try to condense it down to as absolutely small a package as I can possibly get. And now the last 2-3 years, I've been in a Ford Raptor, so it's an F-150. And so it's a, not a big truck or anything, but I've got enough room in the back that I can actually carry 6 dogs if I need to. I've got modular kennels. I can take anywhere from 2 to 6, depending on the trip and all that. But then I've basically turned the inside of the truck into my own little camper space, because that's also a big part of what I do. Is I want to be able to go these places and stay there, because it's hard to get there a lot of times, and it takes time to get there. And so you just can't be driving back and forth. So yeah, I've basically turned the inside of the cab into my own little mini camper. I've got like a cot sort of deal. That's my sleeping space with an air mattress, and I have my fridge set up in there and my food stores. And so, yeah, it's just kind of my own little mini camping setup, so I can kind of go anywhere and stay for several days. I've got a 30-gallon tank for water storage and stuff like that. So in most places I can go and stay for 5, maybe even 6 days if I stretch it out. But yeah, that's kind of my setup, and it's not good for taking lots of people or anything, because it's just kind of my little pod and me and the dogs, but I do a lot of my hunting by myself, so that it works perfect for me anyway.
Very cool.
I think you need to do a YouTube video of your setup here. That sounds pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It's a lot going on inside of an F-150.
Yeah, it is. And I've got a Patreon page where I do all that kind of stuff, kind of do all the behind the scenes stuff and rigs and gear and all that kind of stuff. So I've got some of those.
That's great. Yeah.
Cool. Perfect plug too for that. How do you charge all that stuff? Like, how do you charge your batteries for your cameras when you're out there for 5 or 6 days?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've just got one of those little power stations.
Is it little or is it a big one?
It's pretty small. It's like the size of like your standard car battery, basically. One of those power stations. And then a lot of times I will have some solar on the roof of the camper shell, and so that'll do some charging. It depends on the trip. So sometimes I'm taking a generator, sometimes I'm not, things like that. So if I am taking a generator, I can charge up at night with that. But I've got some, like 3 or 4 different configurations depending on where I'm going, time of year, if I'm going to need heat or if it's hot or different things. So I've got, I've got a solar shower and stuff for the warmer months when I can take a prairie shower and that kind of stuff. But then I take the generator when it starts to get cold and I want to run heat in the cab and stay comfortable and that kind of thing. So I've got a few different configurations for that.
Awesome.
Cool.
Perfect. Yeah, Patreon, definitely check that stuff out. I'm curious. I want to see it all. So, all right. We'll transition. We'll segue then into how we wrap things up, Eric. So on this podcast, we do the waterfowl theme name is Sky Blast questions, but I believe we had it was Tony Peterson from Meat Eater who said he in a more of an upland theme. It was kiss my ass shots is how he termed it, right? So these are like your kiss my ass questions, right? These are off the cuff, anything that comes to mind. Our job is to ask them. Your job is just to answer with the first thing that pops into your head, and then sort of wrap up on a fun note and get you out of here. Then
sounds good.
Okay. All right, Matt, you asked about the rig. That was yours. You were curious about that piece. So
yeah, I'll ask my other one I usually ask. Do you have a favorite mount, like taxidermy mount in your house? Do you have a favorite?
I actually don't have any. I've got a few tail fans from my rough grass from early on, but yeah, my brother has some really cool ones of like Mearns quail from our Southwest, some of our Southwest trips that are absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, I actually don't have any. I've thought about doing it many times, but I just have never pulled the trigger.
Yeah, okay.
It's a dangerous road to go down, Eric.
You're not the first guest we've had that has had zero taxidermy, though.
No,
I might be number 3 or 4, actually.
Yeah, there's been quite a few, actually.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's good.
It's a little tough for me because now that I've started to like accumulate like belt buckles and plaques and things from NASTRA, it's like I don't know where I'd put anything else, and I'm pretty sure my wife would get pretty tired of that after a while. But yeah, so I'm running out of wall space as it is.
Sure.
That's fair. Jeff, do you want to go or would you like me to go?
I can go.
Sure.
All right. Favorite upland bird to chase?
It's probably chucker. It is chucker. I hate to exclude the others because I love them all. But yeah, the places that you go to find them are spectacular in almost every case. And so that's, with the exploration being a big part of it for me, that's my favorite.
Great answer. Favorite versatile breed besides Wirehairs?
Oh, you're killing me.
You're just cheating on all these things here.
Yeah, that's a good question. I really thought about it. I have a lot of buddies that have short hairs, and I've seen a lot of great short hairs. Gosh, that's a good question though. If I didn't have wire hairs, I've always thought that I might be a setter guy, which is kind of a totally shifting gears. Yeah, like if you were saying, okay, what dog would you have other than a wire hair? I would say a setter, probably an English setter.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good answer. All right. I feel like there's like a common theme with these questions, and I swear I wasn't doing this on purpose, but just pitting you up against all these different things. Favorite YouTube creator besides yourself? Who should we check out after we check out Ghost Point?
Oh my gosh, this is such a good question.
I told you I didn't realize I was doing this until I started reading it off.
That's a really good question. So in our little space of upland hunting, and the uplander does a great job. His videos are great, and he does a lot of good traveling, and he just does a nice job of putting together a good video. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of others in like more the hunting space, but yeah, in our little space, I think he does a great job. Oh, I also like Northwest Wing Shooters. I like that guy. I just like him personally, and he doesn't take it to like the nth degree that some of us do, but I just like the guy, so I like watching his videos too. So I'm totally copping out of every one of these questions. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I'm writing that one down. I haven't watched him before. All right, this will be a little bit of an easier one, kind of a funny one. So if you had to pick one color of Sour Patch Kid, which color would you pick?
With that, I didn't expect that. I gotta tell you.
Yeah. I always have like a out of left field one. This is my random question for the night.
Jeez, I don't
Favorite color of Sour Patch Kid?
I'm gonna go. I guess we'll go with Hunter Orange. If there's
Orange.
Hunter
Okay, that's a solid choice. All right. All right, that's all I got. That's it.
Jeff. Okay. So I've got quite a few here. I keep thinking of more as we're talking here too, but I want to start with your favorite bird to eat. Right? We talked about your favorite to hunt. Which one's your favorite to eat?
One thing I look forward to every year is being at early season sharptail camp and getting a hot pan, putting some butter in there, and lightly searing some nice fresh sharptail to medium rare and enjoy. That's one of my favorite things to do. I look forward to that all year long. And if you talk to other people that have eaten sharptail, you may get mixed answers about how good they are to eat, because they're a very dark meat. But kind of like a dove or anything else that's dark meat, you just don't overcook it, and it's delicious. If you like beef, if you like a medium rare beef, you will love it if you just don't overcook it. So that's one of the things I look forward to all year long.
Okay, great answer. In preparing for this podcast, I watched one of your videos where you said probably the exact same thing, or actually what you prepared.
Yeah.
Looked amazing, by the way. So that's your favorite bird to eat. What's your favorite state to chase birds in?
That's a tough one. That is a tough one. So my favorite bird is chukar, and they exist in some of the most beautiful states in this country. That is a tough one. I'm going to say Oregon was one of the first places I chased them in, and that's when I first went to Hell's Canyon, which is a pretty incredible, spectacular place. That's where I was, and so it kind of holds a special place in my heart for sure. And it's an amazing state. It's so diverse, and there's so many different kinds of terrains there, from the craziest, steepest, nastiest looking terrain you've ever seen in Hell's Canyon to stuff where you can go hunt stuff that's like flat sagebrush and desert kind of places. So it's a pretty awesome place. Very spectacular.
Perfect. Love Oregon, by the way. Love that state, and I'll probably get to travel a bunch there this year for work. Anyway, so you've got a lot of dogs. You got to feed a lot of dogs. What kind of dog food are you feeding your dogs?
I'm currently feeding Inukshuk. It's a Canadian dog food. It's a pretty good, kind of a high-powered, good nutrient-dense food. Helps these sporting dogs that they burn a lot of energy. Helps keep good quality weight on them and muscle and all those things. I've been really happy with it. Yeah,
it's great. It's a great dog food. All right, let's finish with some easy ones. Okay, tacos or pizza?
Dang, man, you guys are killing me with these questions.
The list of Eric's favorite things in the sky.
I could get another cop out and say taco pizza, but I won't do it. I'm going to go tacos.
That's a good answer. There's no wrong answer with that one. I mean, you're
apples, oranges. Yeah, I get it.
1A, 1B there. Coffee or energy drinks?
Coffee, 100%.
Okay. Black or with cream?
Yeah, a little bit of cream. I do like a little cream. I like a little sweet.
Okay. And then a wavy potato chips or like your classic Lay's potato chips?
Well, if I'm doing chips and dip, then I got to have the wavy because they've got the structure to really get a good scoop on there.
Excellent. That is the perfect answer to wrap up our Kiss My Ass shot. Kiss My Ass questions here segment. Eric, before I hit the stop recording button here, why don't you go ahead and plug your YouTube page, plug any social media, plug your Patreon, let everybody know where they can find out more about you, about Ghost Point Wirehairs, about breedings, litters you have upcoming, all the good stuff.
Yeah, if you're interested in the videos, you can just go to YouTube and search my name, Eric Forrester. That's the name of my channel. And everything else through social media, Instagram, Facebook, And our website is just Ghost Point Wirehairs. So feel free to check us out.
Perfect. Excellent. All right. We're going to hit the stop recording button. But I want to sincerely thank you for hopping on. I learned a ton, really enjoyed the conversation, really enjoyed getting to know you, Wirehairs, NASTRA, pretty much anything and everything that we talked about. So yeah, thank you so much, Eric. And for our listeners, appreciate you tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and we will be back next week. Later.